Welcome to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement, part of the Treehouse Podcast Network. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, JoAnn Jackson.
Hey.
Welcome back, JoAnn.
Thanks for having me back. It's been a bit.
It has. You know, Curtis has been in studio, so has Josh. So it's...
Oh, Josh was here?
Josh was here.
Wow.
So it's good to have your smiling face back. We've had Curtis has been all over the country.
Really?
So, yes.
Good for him.
Yeah, and he's been to other countries too.
I need to hear about that.
I guess Fort Worth still pays him. He just travels all over the place.
Must be nice. He did give me a good recommendation for a cigar bar over in the stockyards for someone I know, and they thoroughly enjoyed themselves.
Good. An officer friend of yours in town?
Yeah.
Very nice. All right. We're joined by two guests in studio today. We've got returning guest, retired officer, deputy, trooper, anything?
Federal.
Agent,
yes. John Pellizzari. Welcome back, John.
I'm glad to be here. I'm just going to get me another room downstairs.
Great. John's moving in.
Great. Build another room.
I like all the deer.
I do too.
Yeah.
The peacock's cool too.
The peacock. That's how we can do a whole nother episode on the wildlife.
I've just got to get the dog to like me.
Oh, she loves me.
She growls at me.
Really?
Yes.
She loves everybody.
I growl at you too.
You better bring some dog treats next time.
All right. And we've got Wise County Sheriff Lane Akin. Welcome, Sheriff.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we appreciate you being here with us today. And I could sense that there was a little grumbling there between you and John because John just retired from the Wise County Sheriff's Office, 3 months ago, maybe?
Yeah,
Not even that.
and I tried to convince him to stay. I really enjoyed having him around, but you know, I was thinking about it this morning, Steve. It sure was quiet in the office. So maybe it's not so bad after all.
That side of the hall is always quiet when I'm gone.
Well, that's boring.
Well, and Sheriff, how long have you been Sheriff here in Wise County?
I'm coming up on 9 years. It'll be almost 9 years when I retire 2 months from now. So I've been in that position since March of 2016.
And I understand you've got several years of prior law enforcement experience.
Yeah, so I started in 1974. So I started at DFW Airport when it was brand new. Just a big cow pasture, basically. That was an amazing time, and I really enjoyed it. 2 years there, then I did 27 years with DPS as a trooper, a narcotics agent, a ranger, and a ranger lieutenant. And then came back to law enforcement here in Wise County as captain of enforcement, and then luckily I was elected sheriff back in 2016.
Wow, that's quite a resume there in law enforcement.
I was going to say, I need y'all's numbers in case I ever need anything.
Yeah. Well, you better hurry, though, because I'm going to have authority just until December 31st.
Well, you still know people. I don't really know anyone here, so.
Yeah.
So right off into the sunset and at the end of the year and go enjoy that thing that's called retirement.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a great run. We've got great kids, including John when he was there. Really not one of the kids, but we were glad to have. We've got several DPS guys there who are working and have done a great job. But we've got good kids running up and down the hallway that I'm really proud of. So it's been a great run, good 9 years, and I'm looking forward to retirement, but I'll miss those folks a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, I'm guessing you missed John now, maybe?
Well, but he still calls me, and sometimes I don't answer. I see it's him. But
that's just mean.
But generally,
he's going to leave you messages. I know you're ignoring me.
Generally speaking, it's always good to hear from him.
We hang out together. We went dove hunting and had a good time.
Well, that's good. It's good that you continue your friendship after retirement, because so many people retire and they just walk away and they're gone. They're in your life for 20 years and then they're just gone.
You know, John, if you still hang out with the sheriff, had you not retired, you'd be getting paid to hang out with the sheriff.
Right.
I know, but you need to talk to Becky about that.
Fair enough. Now, John, let's remind our listeners, you have worked for multiple agencies yourself. And of course, we just established you retired from the Wise County Sheriff's Office here just a few months ago. But you did, was it 45 years in law enforcement? And you've shared some great stories with us. And for those of you watching the show on YouTube, John showed up today, and I have not asked him about this yet, but John came into the studio today with what appears to be a voodoo doll. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to ask you about it now. I'm a little intimidated by the voodoo doll sitting on the table here.
Same.
Marie Laveau down there.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into that later on this show, and let's find out why you brought this treasure with you today. But we've got Halloween coming up. Well, actually, we're recording on Friday, but the show will be released on Wednesday, the day before Halloween. So, John, you've had a plethora of stories that you have shared with listeners through your multiple appearances here on the show. Anything from Halloween?
One in particular really stands out. Back in 1988, I was doing recruit driving at the DPS Academy. When you're doing the driving, you do city driving and you also do rural driving. Well, we were doing the rural driving and it was Halloween night. We're out here and I've got this recruit with me, and I'm going to call him Joe. And perfect kid. He's from deep West Texas, good as they come. He's driving. We're heading toward Dripping Springs, Texas, out of Austin. All of a sudden, this car blows us off the road. He gets back in front of us. He's bar ditch. Wait
a minute. Are you in a trooper vehicle?
We're in a marked, I've even got a Crown Victoria, the awesome car with that. Get up there.
And this guy just blows around you.
Blows around. It's wearing black and white, overhead lights, the whole thing, and it's not dark, but it's not light, but
dusky.
Everybody else should be able to see us. So he gets up there and, he passes us, and all of a sudden I look at Joe and I said, "What do you think we ought to do?" He goes, "I think that guy needs to be stopped." And I said, "Well, you're the lead officer. I'm just the referred partner." And he goes, "What do you want me to do?" I said, "Well, you need to turn on the lights." And he goes, "And then what?" I said, "If the guy pulls over," I said, "pull over behind him and I'll make the contact since you're in your khaki, uniform that the recruits have to wear." Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I said, "I'll make the contact." I said, "If he doesn't stop," I said, "chase is on." I said, "You lock this car down, you bail out, and I promise you I will come back and pick you up whenever it's over."
I swear I'll come back.
I swear.
I swear. So he looks at me and he goes, "Okay, sir." That's the thing too. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was a kid, real young, but he gets up there and he called me sir, and he was even older than me. But we get up there and make this deal. He turns the lights on, the guy pulls over, and Joe goes up to the passenger side, kind of at the back, and I go up and make contact. As soon as I get up to the car, I just lose it, because this is Bozo the Clown driving the car. Literally. It's Halloween.
He couldn't see around his nose or his curly hair.
So a boozing Bozo?
He was drunk. I'm talking 6 sheets into the wind, shit-faced drunk.
Snot flinging drunk.
He was drunk. So we get up there, make the contact, get up there, and I thought, okay, this is going to be good, because this gets to show us my hickey is I got a DWI this month, So I get up there, which is good because it was the 31st of the month too. So that, that helped. So I get up there, I make the contact, get the guy out. We end up arresting him for DWI. Well, during the inventory of the car, things just keep getting better. We get in there, find 10 pounds of marijuana, You know, because he is going to a Halloween party. And when you're down there in that country, you know.
That's back when it was illegal.
It
right?
was illegal.
Is
Now
that
in
still
Travis
illegal?
County, you know, 10 pounds is
10 pounds
Class C.
Personal
Yeah.
use, personal use.
Yeah,
It's
personal use.
personal
10
use,
pounds.
you know.
I could smoke this in a week.
So, you know, we get up there. So during the inventory, we find the marijuana. Then we dig a little bit farther, and lo and behold, in the ice chest below the ice is a kilo of cocaine.
Oh my.
Oh, it just keeps getting better. Then we get up there, and we find in the trunk area the trustworthy Crown Royal bag.
Oh,
Yes.
$16,000 cash.
the magic bag.
It just, you know, just gets. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, drunk, dope, money. The only thing we didn't have was a weapon, and we couldn't find a weapon. Well, like I said, we're in Hayes County is where the stop was actually done at. And so we take the guy to jail. Hayes County deputy comes out. He helps us out with it. We get the guy booked in. Well, we got to do the report before we leave. Well, in the meantime, of course, this is before cell phones. So I pick up the radio and, you know, 5173 Austin, will you notify the academy this, and this? We're going to be late coming in because curfew is at 11 o'clock.
At the academy, you have to be back
You got
at
to
11.
you got to have those recruits back, you know. And of course, all these other ones are on the radio on the DPS talk around channel. Like, holy crap, you know, y'all got a drunk, you got dope, you got this, you got that, and everybody, you know, everybody's high fiving each other and all this stuff in their cars, and you know, talking. We get back to the academy. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning because we had to do all the paperwork before we could leave. We had to have it so it could be turned in. Well, I'm sitting there. We come in, and I mean, my head's swelling, and this recruit's head is even bigger.
Oh, yeah. He's done great.
Yeah. He
He's done
initiated the stop.
He's done more in before he even got commissioned as a lot of officers did their entire career.
Yeah, that's a heck of
You
a
know,
pop.
a good deal. So he gets up there, and we walk in, and here is the Train Academy commander, the recruit school counselors, and one other. And they're like, where have y'all been? And I said, did y'all not get the message? And they said, yes, but we have rules. And I'm like, rules? But, you know, and they looked and they said, no, but. And they told Recruit Joe, go upstairs, get your clothes on, be in the gym for violating the curfew. Well, sheriff can kind of test this. I'm quiet. I usually don't say much. I keep my thoughts to myself.
John doesn't say much.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying it.
I didn't. I told them.
Maybe not in front of command staff.
I told them where it could go. I told them, I said, this is bull. And I told them, I said, this guy's done more than most troops will do their entire career, and y'all are penalizing them. Well, the commander of the train academy said, well, let me tell you something, Troop Pellizzari. As long as I'm in charge, these are my rules, and you will not be back down here assisting, instructing in any of our academies as long as I'm here.
You got kicked out of the academy.
I got kicked out of training, you know, coming back. But one thing about it was 2 years later, whenever he did promote on up and left, I did get to go back and instruct in the academy, you know.
Wow.
But I thought, you know, how good was it? Halloween night, you stop Bozo, you get all his dope and all his money and a DWI.
And you got kicked out of the academy.
And I got kicked out of the academy.
Because you're out there clowning around.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And the poor recruit got penalized and punished. Did you see him after that? Have you seen him since then?
I have. We still joke about it. He's since retired too. Because,
Wow.
You know, well, I mean, you look how long ago that's been. you know.
I don't know if I feel young or old at this moment.
Well, Steve always gives me a tough time about having to do traffic direction for Noah when we were trying to load all the animals onto the ark.
Oh.
Yeah. and again, in previous episode, we established he did security for the 10 Commandments.
I was going to say, is that why there's no dinosaurs?
Well, they were messing around with the unicorns.
Apparently. They were in the gym.
Well, I was afraid whenever you mentioned it, he was sent to the gym. And then JoAnn said, have you seen him since? It's like, he got sent to the gym and nobody's heard from him.
Nobody's ever heard from him. It was Halloween.
Was he like put out by it and decided not to stay? Did he?
No,
did he survive it? Did he hold a grudge against you? Did he still think it was like a great story to tell?
No,
was he mad at you?
As I was packing my stuff up, I saw him the next day, and I told him, I said, "Hell of a job." And like I said, he made a good road trip. End up going into narcotics.
Well, good for him.
That's what I'm talking about.
Good for him.
Yeah, he did the right thing. He got a great pop out of that. And, sometimes there's negatives that come with that. But you know what? You did your job. You did it well.
Yeah, it was
good job.
It was stupid command stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got no comment on the matter.
Especially since the boss is at the end of the table.
Former boss.
Former boss.
Yeah.
Former boss.
I never had any problems with him.
Well, and that's good because you're standing right next to him.
Yeah, I had the problems with him. He didn't have any with me. I just had problems with him.
Wait,
I knew where my butter was. Bread was buttered there.
Let's peel this Band-Aid off this one. Tell us a little bit about John and John working with you, Sheriff.
Well, it's been a good run. I knew him when he was a trooper up in Bowie, Montague County, and I really enjoyed working with him. I was a Texas Ranger here, and he was a trooper up there in Montague County, and I had 3 counties: Wise, Jack, and Montague County, and so everywhere you went, people would ask you about Pellizzari. How's Pellizzari doing today? What do you got Pellizzari doing? I got kind of sick of that stuff. But the one of the first times I saw him, I was working a murder case to some extent with Bowie PD, and this guy was out on his hands and knees actually making a plaster print of a shoe. So I was pretty impressed with him and taking that level of dedication. I mean, he's out there in that sandstone uniform digging in the dirt. So I thought this guy has got a good attitude and he wants to help everybody. And in reality, he's a good man, and he knows people all across the state. And every now and then, even just on the radio, I'll hear his name on the good time radio, not the police radio, the good time radio. People talking about John Pellizzari. So he's a little bit of a legend in his own mind. But I've enjoyed working with him a lot. And really, he and I have talked about this a little bit. We'll have an opportunity now because I'll be retired as he's already retired. And we'll be able to do some things that we weren't able to do in the past because of the things that were put on us there at the sheriff's office. And it made it a little bit difficult sometimes to have the movement and do what we wanted to do.
Sure.
So we'll be freed up January 1st, and maybe we'll go to a lot of reunions together. Maybe we'll do some hunting. Maybe we'll do some fishing. Maybe we'll be talking about the grandkids. So I'm looking forward to that. I've enjoyed John for a long time. I was surprised when he came back from New Mexico, and I was pretty proud that we had the opportunity to put him in there because we had somebody with CVE experience that we didn't have before. So he was a good hand for the sheriff's office, and a good, hard-working guy, and everybody enjoyed him.
Wow, John. You quite the impression.
Really?
It just got really like stuffy in here. I'm just teasing, John.
Yeah. Well, we should have measured.
For
John's.
his head.
Yeah, I think
I feel the headsets moving away from my ears.
Did you wear my headset last? Is that why it fits weird?
That's it? No.
Yeah,
I didn't have those good words.
So, he started us off with a bozo story, and I think I've got a better bozo story than that, but I noticed that the time is getting pretty close. But it's not Halloween, but it's pretty dang close because it's the real bozo.
Ooh.
Ooh.
The authentic bozo.
Yes, the real bozo.
All right, I tell you what, let's take a break. We're going to get to the real bozo when we come back.
All right.
Planning for the future is challenging, and getting where you want to go in life requires strategies built around your unique financial needs. Alexander Financial Management is here to help you reach your goals. As fiduciaries, Alexander Financial Management will pursue the best solutions for you, no exception. While their decades of experience and service are available to everyone, Alexander Financial especially wants to help first responders and their families. The founder is a former police officer, and the executive team includes a retired fire captain and a retired police officer. Their extensive background in public service gives a deep understanding of the public retirement systems of Texas. So for retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, and estate planning, Alexander Financial Management has your back, so you can look forward. Get more info at alexfm.com. That's alexfm.com. Investment advisory services offered through Transcend LLC, a registered investment advisor. TE3 and Alexander Financial are not affiliated entities. Insurance products and services are not offered through TE3, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
And welcome back to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, retired officer Steve Rutherford, co-host for today's show, JoAnn Jackson.
Hey.
And we are joined by two guests in studio. We've got retired officer, deputy trooper John Pellizzari.
Good to be back.
And we're also joined by Wise County Sheriff Lane Akin. So this segment is sponsored by our friends at Alexander Financial Management. If you have questions about retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, or estate planning, check out Alexander Financial Management at alexfm.com. Now, Sheriff, going into the break there, you mentioned something about the real Bozo the Clown.
Well, I think my story is much more enjoyable than Pellizzari's was. So, and you know, I didn't really think about it until John started telling that story about a guy dressed up like Bozo. So I was a brand new trooper, graduated in January of 77. And so this is not Halloween, but, you know, it's Halloween-like because the guy sure enough looked like Bozo. And he was Bozo in so many ways. But so I'm riding with my break-in partner. We didn't call them FTOs. We call them break-in partners, but he's my FTO. Johnny, first name, I won't give his last name. But Johnny is quite a character, and I really enjoyed working with Johnny. So we were about to make the shift. You know, it was February. We were about to give it up for the day. It's kind of late in the afternoon. You know, I think maybe it was on a Sunday, and we're driving. We're headed from Greenville back to Commerce, and we see this international pickup weaving side to side. So Johnny turned around and lit him up. Well, that international pickup, he didn't slow down. He sped up, and so we were driving a '76 Fury. Plymouth Fury that would run a hole in the wind, and so that international pickup probably weighed 4,500, 5,000 pounds. I don't know, and it probably couldn't get over 75 or 80. So we're going to do okay. We got a little pursuit going here with this big tank, and so we're going down 224, going back toward Greenville, and he takes a left on a farm to market road. But we can't get him to stop, and you can't do a pit maneuver. In fact, we didn't even know about pit maneuvers at the time, so that was a new deal. Something came on later. So with that truck being so big, Johnny couldn't figure out how we're going to stop him. We're running about 75, 80. And so I told Johnny, you know, because I'm this brand new rookie, I think maybe I've got an idea here. I said, pull up beside him, Johnny, and it was a cold February day, and so I rolled down the window. We didn't have electric windows. I rolled down the window, and with my revolver, 357 Model 28, I leaned out the window, and so he, along the way, has been dumping pharmaceuticals. And so he had plastic bag after plastic bag, and pills are just going everywhere on that little county road, not farm to market road. And so I'm up there right next to him, and I lean out with my revolver, and I'm talking about I'm as close as I am to Johnny, or Pellizzari right now.
Just a couple of feet
Yeah,
away.
yeah. And especially the
Knock,
pistol.
knock, knock.
The pistol was right up next to his face, and he looked at that pistol, and his eyes got real big. So the reason I say he's bozo because he's bald headed on top, but he's got this flaming red hair around the side, and in the wind it's just flying everywhere. So I start calling him bozo, and he sees that, and so he puts that. He hit the brakes real hard. He's almost digging up pavement with the front bumper. And then he threw it in reverse. And so we were just going across the railroad tracks when he threw it in reverse. And so now we're having a race in reverse, which was kind of interesting. I've never been experiencing that. So we're going backwards. But when he came over the railroad crossing, he hit on the other side. He lost control and he hit the pole that holds the railroad crossing sign.
Ooh.
So it lifted the drive wheels off the ground. And so now he throws it in drive and he's ready to go. So Johnny had turned around and we're nose to nose with that guy. And so I just coming out of the academy, I knew all about felony takedown. So I reached for the microphone, switch it to PA, and so I'm in control because I've done this in the academy. I know what I'm doing. I'm saying all the words that they said, but by about probably the second or third word I got out, Johnny is out there and he's pulling this guy through the window.
Old school policing.
Yeah, and Johnny was not a tall guy, and so it was uphill. And he pulled that guy out of the window. I have no idea how he got him out of that window like that. So I threw the microphone back in there and went out there to help Johnny. And so Johnny's down there, and I'm trying to hand him a pair of handcuffs. It's the only thing I can do because I don't want to get caught in a backlash or anything. So finally, he takes my handcuffs. He cuffs Bozo up, and he looks back up at me, and Johnny said, we don't always do what they taught you how to do it in Austin. You learn from me, you understand? So so we loaded him up, got what pharmaceuticals we could, and we took him to the courthouse. That's where the jails were back then. All the jails were at the top floor.
The top floors, yeah.
So the Hunt County Jail. And we put him in jail and came back down. And so this is the part that really got me. So we got back in that Plymouth, and Johnny's on the right side, and he's kind of working on some of his tickets and some of the paperwork that he was doing. And Johnny looks over at me, and he said, "Partner, I thought you were going to kill him. I thought you were going to shoot him." And of course, I'm thinking that's not deadly force. That's not something that I should pull the trigger. So it bothered me that he said, "I thought you were going to shoot him." And I said, "Well, Johnny, if you thought I was going to shoot him, why didn't you stop me?" And he said, "Well, I just want to see if you'd do it."
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
Trial by fire.
So that
goodness.
so we were talking about Pellizzari just a little bit ago, and a lot of people don't know this, and I didn't really want the folks in the Wise County Sheriff's Office to know it, but I knew there was something that he got into when he was a young trooper. He and some of his buddies are headed down to Austin for in-service class. It's a Sunday afternoon, and they run across this truck, a state truck, a Texas Department of Transportation truck, rolling down the road. And so these troopers, they're smart kids because they've gone through the academy, and they realize that truck shouldn't be rolling because those tech stop folks, they don't work when they don't have to. And so they think
It was a Sunday afternoon.
They're thinking something odd was going on. Well, lo and behold, it's a bunch of orphans who had escaped the orphanage, and so they're going down 281, and John and Pellizzari and his guys start shooting at
They wouldn't stop. They were weaving at cars.
At orphans.
Shooting at
I didn't want the people, because I just hired him, and I knew this is the guy who shot at orphans. And so I tried to keep it quiet as long as I could, but I couldn't. So finally I had to give it up. And he has some kind of explanation. That
Alleged.
Yeah. I'm kind of waiting for this explanation.
Yeah.
They were weaving at cars. We feared for the motoring public safety. We didn't hit any of them. We hit the car. That's what we were shooting
It was
at.
a truck. It was a big truck.
It was a big
Were they-
truck. It was a big dump truck.
Like a dump truck.
It was a dump truck.
Oh, wow.
Those
Wow.
are hard to stop. See, when I moved here, the stories I heard about DPS was, don't mess around. Don't run. They'll shoot your tires out.
Mm-hmm.
Brian was, I don't know, he was involved in a chase or something, and troopers were there, and Brian's like, I couldn't believe it. He pulled out a shotgun and he shot it. And he's like, what? Yeah. Well, that was, 25 years ago.
Well, this was in 1981. I mean,
Yeah.
and like I said, I had just got out of the academy, so we knew what to do.
Allegedly.
And I won't mention the location, but he's got a hunting lease down in that area, and every time he drives by there, he said they've got a sign up,
Yeah.
in remembrance of me.
I stop at the orphanage and take a selfie.
Now,
And send it to him.
I will say one thing too. I had just came to work for Wise County. It was maybe not even 2 months into it, and we had a pursuit that started up in Ringgold on the Texas-Oklahoma border in Montague County. Guy in a stolen pickup. They had chased him all the way down. He was in Wise County, coming in Wise County, and I was set up at the crossover. I'm sitting there, and about that time, my phone rings, and it's my lieutenant saying, directive from the chief and the sheriff, you are no longer in DPS. I knew what they meant. We had a policy here about shooting at moving vehicles.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's
Yeah.
so I had to kind of revert back to my old ways or my new ways, I guess.
Yeah, John, most agencies do, with the exception of DPS.
Yeah.
Well,
I
worked.
mean, Rhode Island troopers, when I was a kid running traffic, they would step out. They'd be parked on the side of the highway, Route 4, 95. They would step out and point at you. They step out into the lane of travel, point at you, and point to the shoulder. And I never saw anybody not do it. I'm like, if you're going to step out into the highway and say, you need to pull over, I'm going to do it.
How many times did that happen to you, JoAnn?
Never.
Well,
Never.
sheriff can attest back in the days of the driver's license checks on the side of the road and stuff. You did get compliance all the time. Like you said, you talked about it. It's a different age now.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay. That makes me think about another story.
Go for it.
So this is on FM 35, West Waukee in Hunt County. So my partner and I, we're working driver's license check. We could do that back then. You can't do it anymore. It's not allowed. So we had folks, we were kind of down in the valley, and so we were stopping cars on both sides. Let us see your driver's license. You got your equipment. Everything is good. Good to see you all. Be safe, and send them on their way. Well, one guy came up in an Eldorado Cadillac, and he was a used car salesman, and he was not going to show his driver's license. No way, no how. I'm not going to give you my driver's license. And so my partner was standing there. His first name is Dan. Great guy. We still stay in contact today. Dan said, I'm going to give you count to 3. I'm going to open that door and I'm going to take you out. And he said, I'm going to count to 10. So I'm standing over there and Dan starts counting and he gets to 3 and I open the door. And,
Surprise.
And pull this guy out and of course cuff him up right there on the white line, the white and yellow line on 35, FM 35. It's not the big 35. And so there's a line of cars, and now I've got handcuffs on this guy, but what I didn't realize, it was still in drive. And so the Eldorado's headed down the road, and Dan is chasing after it. He's a good, healthy young man. He's a bit younger than me. He finally captured it probably about 50 yards down the road. And so when I got the guy, got him all cuffed, there was another guy came up to me and he said, I'll show you my driver's license if you want me. So everybody else that came by, they're
Drive
showing
by
the driver. Yeah, here you go.
That's
so
funny.
That was that story. I'm sorry, that was kind of off the cuff sort of deal. That wasn't planned. Pellizzari.
No, that's all right. I'm glad I jogged your memory.
Yeah.
I think we need to hear about this doll.
The what?
The doll.
The doll. We're going to hear about the doll. And
Okay. I just don't want to forget because I'm sitting here and it's like right in my line of sight and
you're just that. Whoa.
No.
Whoa.
No, don't look at me. Thank you.
John, yeah. We're gonna get to the doll.
Okay.
I'm very curious about John and his voodoo doll here.
How many other dolls do you have, John?
That's the only one that scares me.
He probably took that from one of the orphans. That's what it is.
They sent it to him in the mail.
Yeah.
This is all started now.
Now, John, playing off of kind of, I don't know, I'm not going to use the term quirkiness, but you've got some strange experiences out there. And whenever we talk about Halloween, we talk about spooky stuff and all that. Back in your trooper days, you guys tried to scare each other.
Well, my partner, who I had for many years, David Slayton, good son of a gun. His end of watch was 9/20 of 2010. But and we were all the time getting in stuff. I mean, you know, we would be the deal, and you wouldn't ever hear about it now. But we'd be working and stop. You know, we'd have two cars that were violating. You'd put your partner out to take care of them, and you'd chase the other one down. And sometimes it might result in a pursuit that goes to two counties, and you're on the side of the road waiting for somebody. Because this is, like I said, before cell phones and everything. Whatever, we were all the time, you know, seeing badgers on the side of the road and chasing them and all that. But we pulled up in one of these rural cemeteries in northern Montague County. It was Halloween. We started daring each other. What we're going to do is we're going to walk to the far end of the cemetery, turn your flashlight on, and, of course, it's back in the days of those old plastic Kell flashlights, you know, 3D cells, and you flash your light 3 times, and then you walk back to it.
And this is in case anybody wants to know what troopers do on Halloween evening. And, yeah.
Hey.
Sounds like a good use of the time, John.
We made our stops that we need to.
Okay.
And besides that, you know, Halloween pranks, rural cemeteries, you've got, you know, this was, you know, checking on stuff.
Added level of spookiness going on here.
You got to have fun.
Well, we wanted to make sure there was no vandalism or nothing else going on. So whatever, we get up there and we go into it. I get up there and David goes, well, I'll go first. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting, you know, and all of a sudden I see at the far end of the cemetery the 3 flashes of lights. And I'm like, okay, he comes back. He goes, your turn. You know, I don't even think nothing about it. So I get out, I bebop along. Of course, you know, you're looking and it's walking through a cemetery. I'm going up there and I get to the very back and I flash the light 3 times. And by the time I hear the engine start up. And I thought, sucker, you should have took the keys. I see the headlights back keys up. I see it, and I'm like, crap. Man, like I said, this is no cell phone. You got walkie-talkies that might work from here to your downstairs. You know, I mean, and I'm sitting there thinking, crud. You know, well, I bebop real quick to the front of the cemetery, kind of get from the area there. And I thought, you know, good Lord's getting back at me. I shouldn't be here anyway doing this. And about that time we get in there and, you know, I see taillights going down that county dirt road and I'm like, man. Well, about 35, 40 minutes later, he comes back and picks me up. You know, so like I said, you know.
So that's what you get for shooting
At
orphans.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what
that was
right after it happened, wasn't it?
Wasn't long. It wasn't long. It wasn't long after that.
At least he came back for you.
Yeah, and that's a miracle because
You could have gotten a call.
yeah, he could have used that excuse too.
That would have been awful. He gets a call, has to go answer a call.
By himself, and they're like, don't you have a partner tonight?
Yeah,
No, he gets real busy, a bunch of calls, the end of shift. He's thinking, what am I forgetting as he's heading into,
Johnson
the
at the
thing
cemetery.
was, I mean, from where it was on the far north end of the county. It's going to be about a 40-mile walk for me because I wasn't going to stop and flag somebody over and say, hey, you mind giving me a ride? Because I was dumb enough to get out of the car and walk to the end of the cemetery and flash my flashlight 3 times. My partner left me.
That's when you got your badge in your hand, you jump out in the middle of the road, stop a car. I need your car. Commandeer their car.
It works on TV all the time.
It does, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know,
We used to have the the city I worked for, we had a huge golf course there, and they used to keep all the alcohol for the golf course out in the cart barn, if you will.
Do they still?
Well,
He's asking for a friend.
A friend wants to know.
well, there'd be a bunch of kids in the neighborhood that would come across the course, and they would break into the cart barn to steal the alcohol. And we got a call out there one night. Hey, these kids are out there. In middle of the night, I respond, and there's a grounds worker out there in the middle of the night, riding around the golf cart, and I'm chasing after these kids. And I see this guy in the golf cart. I'm like, I need your golf cart. He's like, okay. Jump on the golf cart. Zzz. So, anyways, followed the kids back to a party that they were at. But yeah, I got to commandeer a golf cart once. Now, Sheriff, I do want to get back to you. You actually wrote a book, correct?
Yes, I did.
Tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, I started writing it about 40 years ago, so it's been a work in progress. But it's called The Point, Dawn of the Texas Meth War. It's all about domestic manufacturing of methamphetamine that came into Texas probably in the 80s, maybe the later 70s. And that was a huge deal back in the day. We busted a lot of those domestic labs that were out there manufacturing methamphetamine. So it's the whole story about DPS narcotics, and unfortunately, DPS narcotics is no more. The current director decided that we didn't need DPS narcotics, and I hate that. But it was a good group of folks who really were hell bent to try to make sure that methamphetamine went away. So this is a battle against that, and the toll that it takes amongst the families when you're having those undercover operations. So even more so than that, it's a struggle between good and evil. And the vast majority of the stories in there are true stories, but I've changed. It's a work of fiction, but I've changed the names and some of the locations. But it's set mostly in East Texas because that's where I was working as a narcotics agent, and working undercover at the time. So it was a real joy to write that. I pulled some of the notes together. That I just had a spiral notebook, much like this right here, when I'd get home after doing an undercover deal, made a purchase. Sometimes I'd make just some notes, and I kept up with those. Well, last year, in 2023, I put them all together and turned it into a book and published it February 29th of this year. But it's something that it really is near and dear to me because there's so much truth in that it's bothersome. So it's available on Amazon. Also at NRS, they have it. And then there's a little museum, a ranger museum down in Fredericksburg carrying it. So that's the first one. And I've just started my second book, and that's what I'm going to do in retirement when Pellizzari and I are running from place to place, shooting at orphans. So
I want to make the second chapter.
Yeah. So I'm working on my second one, and I hope maybe by the end of next year that will continue on. It'll be a series, basically the same people, but I'm moving that one to Wise County.
Good deal. So what's the title of the book again?
The Point, Dawn of the Texas Meth War.
All right. And you can locate that book on Amazon, correct?
Yes, and you can also find it just by my name in Lane Akin.
Very good. All right.
And one thing I just want to throw in there, and when the sheriff, and then like I said, being in Montague County, we had a ton of meth labs, everything else, and that was always enjoyable. I could walk in and catch him in the office, and we'd start talking about the dope and all that. But he had did a deal and hold me to the number that you took a poll on how many we have in Wise County Jail as a result of meth.
So 85% right now, 85% of the people in jail right now, when we can hold 338, usually we've got 220 or so. But 85% of those people are there because of methamphetamine. Whoa. And what's going on at the border right now is killing us because the domestic methamphetamine, they would maybe make 15 pounds at a time in those labs, But those labs in Mexico, they're manufacturing 15,000 pounds at a time.
Holy.
And
I
so,
had no idea.
So that's where we're getting the vast majority of our crime because of methamphetamine.
Wow.
Wow, meth is back. All right,
That was
guys,
bad.
we'll be back in just a minute. Let's welcome Daniel Cook from Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration into the studio. How are you doing, Daniel?
Doing great, Steve. Thank you.
Now, Daniel, you're the owner of Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. What sets your company apart from other roofing and remodeling companies?
Well, Steve, as you know, and I'm sure majority of your listeners know, there are thousands upon thousands of roofing and construction companies in the DFW Metroplex. And so, it's all about care, concern, and treating your clients like you'd want to be treated yourself at your home. And so that's what we practice. We when we go meet people, we ask them what they're looking for, what their concerns are. We listen to them, and we try to provide them the best solutions to some of their problems. And we try to help them with the process, because a lot of these clients, they have no idea how insurance works. They have no idea how construction works. And if they did, they wouldn't be calling us probably. And so we just want to try to, take them step by step, make them understand, make them feel comfortable, show them, what the process is, communicate effectively. Communication is the biggest thing in construction. And most people, from my understanding, when they've had projects in their house, that's the first thing that fails is communication between them and their contractor. And so these are the things that separate us, is because we understand the business, we understand the process of insurance, and we truly want to educate our clients and make them feel as comfortable as possible.
Now, if you're in need of a new roof repair, remodeling, or restoration, give Daniel a call at Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. The number's 833-COOK-DFW. Again, that's 833-COOK-DFW. The website, cookdfw.com. Be sure to ask them about their free first responder upgrade. Welcome back. Welcome back to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. We've got two guests joining us today. We've got retired officer John Pellizzari, and we've got Wise County, Texas Sheriff Lane Akin. I do want to remind you guys, if you have not checked out the website yet, check it out. You can view all episodes on the website, as well as subscribe to the email list. The address, offbeatcopshow.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow.com. If you're an officer and you've got a funny story you'd like to come on the show and share with our listeners, send us an email, offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Again, that's offbeatcopshow@gmail.com. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Now, John, we've held back so far in the show, and while you've displayed this literally a voodoo doll on the counter here in front of us, I'm almost afraid to ask, because you're definitely the first guest to show up with a voodoo doll.
Or any doll.
Or any doll. So, John, what's up with the? And the voodoo doll keeps looking at JoAnn. So, John, what's the deal with the voodoo doll?
Okay. Whenever I was working in New Mexico in Red River, we had a coven of witches and warlocks that had moved up there from Texas.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Texas.
Glad to hear that.
It is
Yeah.
really neat. They left Texas at least. Okay. This one warlock, we always had issues with them. Domestics, public intoxication, all this same stuff you deal with on regular calls all the time. Well, this one warlock in particular thought that I was harassing him too much. So I'm sitting there and don't think much about it. Well, I look out my window one morning before going to work, and here in my trash dumpster, there's this guy that's trash diving in the deal. Well, one good thing about New Mexico is your expectation of privacy is on trash does not exist until it hits the main dump.
Oh, really?
So while he's
Wow.
digging in the trash dump, man, how many cases did you make diving in the trash dumpster?
Not many.
Oh Lord. But whatever. He's digging in the trash dumpster. So I walk up there and say, "Hey, Mr. Warlock, what are you doing?" He turns around and he goes, "I'm trying to find some of your personal items."
Oh.
And I'm like, "Okay. Well," so I said, why are you trying to do that? And he said, "Because I'm going to put a hex on you for all that you're doing to us." Well, he gets
Yikes.
up there and I cuff him up because it is now a violation because he is involving theft.
Yeah.
He is digging in my trash to try to find stuff. And he does have some stuff, a Q-tip, a paper sack or a paper plate, stuff like that. Well, this doll was in the car and it had my business card attached to it, which is a card that I had gave him whenever I responded to one of the calls because he wanted to file a complaint on me. He thought that was possession enough that was something that belonged to me that he could put the hex on.
Did it work?
Did it work?
Evidently.
Is that why you shot at orphans?
See what you started? Now JoAnn's going to go say, "Hey, I was on the show with the guy that shot at orphans."
You actually
But
shot
no.
at orphans.
But no, like I said, he said that he saw me walking around and everything was going good and he knew the hex didn't work. So needless to say,
He needed more
he
items.
needed more
Yeah.
items, more personal items to put this hex on me. So I thought, what the heck?
So that's the doll that he had?
That is the doll.
That is your own personalized, custom-made voodoo doll for John Pellizzari.
I guess. I mean, I've never had anybody put a hex on me or used a voodoo, and I don't know. Like I said, maybe he went to, Antigua or wherever to the deal. But I mean, it's kind of deal. And it sat on my desk for a good while.
I don't see any pins sticking out of it.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't have any personal
Yeah.
stuff in there.
Yeah.
Evidently, there
Hey,
were
can
some.
you feel that, John?
No, no. Like I said,
He needs help with that left elbow, no the right elbow. Yeah,
yeah.
we can fix
Now,
that.
I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. Trust me.
Hey, as we're playing with the voodoo doll to see if it affects John. That's
Well,
awesome.
isn't it interesting that it is the right elbow and it's the right arm on the doll that's
Like I
bent?
said, that's it. But well, like I said, as far as I know, that's the only one that's ever tried to put a hex on me.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Wow.
Authentic, handcrafted, personal voodoo doll. John,
like I said, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen to me.
Mm.
Trust me.
yeah, John, you never seem to surprise me.
Ship magnet.
All right, guys, that's what we got for today's show. John, it's always a pleasure having you in here. Sheriff, thank you for coming in today.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you enjoy that retirement coming up here in a couple of months as well.
I will.
Keep busy.
Guys, until next time, stay safe and watch each other six.